Hello everyone and welcome to the latest chapter in my quest to graduate from the Low Fuel Motorsport Rookies class. Now, Assetto Corsa Competizione hasn't been a happy hunting ground for me in recent weeks, and I reached a new low at Snetterton last time out when I was more than 2 seconds slower than anyone else on the grid. But what a difference a week makes. I've made some big strides forward with this Ferrari over the past few days, and all of a sudden I feel like I might just have the pace to actually compete in ACC. And that's all thanks to you guys. You're all so helpful with your support, tips and advice after that Snetterton disaster, and I've put a lot of those suggestions into practice this week. I've switched to the default aggressive setup and I've made several tweaks to it, including brake bias and ECU mapping, but most importantly, I've paid far more attention to tyre pressures and made sure that they're spot on for these hot conditions at Barcelona today. And there's good news because it seems to be working. My lap times in qualifying were much better and I'm not starting at the back of the grid this time. Instead, I'll be starting from 21st position with a qualifying time of 1:46.9, but that actually doesn't paint the true picture. I was 0.5 of a second up on my last flying lap before invalidating it with an off track in the final sector, and that would have put me up to around 16th. So I'm feeling far more confident that I may be able to challenge for a top 15 finish here. We're about to go down to the grid for the live action, and this one turns out to be an absolute cracker. There's non-stop drama in this one. Near misses, wrecks, battles, controversy, you name it, we'll see it in this race. Right, enough talk, let's jump into the cockpit and find out how we get on. Well, it's a really long and fast start-finish straight here at Barcelona, followed by a really tight and tricky first turn. So I need to have my wits about me coming into T1. We don't want to throw this race away before it's even begun. So we're just going to hang back, get on the brakes really early. We don't want to get too close, give everyone space. It looks like the whole field is going to get through turns 1 and 2 safely. Warning of a slow car ahead, but it looks like he's managed to get back into the pack okay, so I'm relieved to say we've got through that first section unscathed, but there's a red Ferrari out to the grass ahead. Oh no, he's back into the track, and we've got to take avoided action. There's nowhere to go. We've got to take to the gravel to avoid a wreck there. Oh, bitterly disappointing. It looks like there were several cars involved in that, and a couple of really big shunts too, so we may have gone off lightly there. We managed to avoid contact with any other cars, and crucially, we managed to keep it out of the barrier, but we did give away a bunch of positions. We're in 22nd according to the leaderboard, but yeah, that could have been so much worse. We hardly had any time to react when that red Ferrari speared back across the track, and he properly took out 2 or 3 other cars, so we did so well to react quickly and stay out of harm's way by taking to the gravel. And once we get this first lap out of the way, we'll go back and check out a replay of that, because I want to see just how close we came to disaster there. But back to the race for now, and the white flag did come out briefly there, but it doesn't look like we've gained any positions. There was a little bit of debris on the track. It looked like the leftovers of one of those brake marker boards, but yeah, whoever went off must have rejoined okay, because we're still in 22nd position. But it hasn't taken us long at all to bridge this gap that opened up while we were rejoining off the gravel. We're now right on Tom Thompson's tail now. Thompson in the BMW in 21st position. And I saw another yellow flag come out very briefly there as we work our way through this horrible final section here at Barcelona. But we haven't advanced at all, so whoever caused that yellow flag probably just ran a little bit wide and rejoined. And as we start the long charge down the start-finish straight, we are actually going to gain a position, so somebody must have gone into the pits. So we're going to end lap 1 in 21st position, but still with a lot of work to do. So just how close were we to getting wiped out in that first lap? Well, let's watch the replay and keep your eye on this red Ferrari, the number 17, Skolman. He's just going to drift off his line as he gets on the gas, and that's going to send him out wide and into the McLaren of Gilles Van Dale. There's the contact. It sends Skolman onto the grass, and then all hell breaks loose. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 cars that get hit, and you just saw through the trees how close we came to being the 5th victim. Riding on board with us now, we'll see just how little time we had to react to this. Yeah, after watching that on board again, I'd say we dodged a bullet, but then when we watch it from the chopper cam up above, I'd say it's more accurate that we dodged several bullets. Look how close we came, taking avoided action at the last minute and going through the only real gap that we could find to stay safe. Back to the live action then, halfway through lap 2, we're still in 21st position, just under a second behind Tom Thompson's BMW now, and we've got a gap of about 0.7 of a second back to Oscar Motin in the Porsche behind. The yellow flags have come out there, someone has got it wrong through this tight section of corners. We can just see him rejoining ahead, so that is going to close the pack together a bit. Yeah, we're right on the back of Thompson's BMW now. And in amongst it all, we picked up our first track limit this morning as well. We just ran a little too wide on the exit of that sharp left-hander. But look in the rearview mirror, we've got company now. Oscar Motin is right on our tail, and he's going to dive at the inside. He's going to dive right into Tom Thompson. We have to slam on the brakes to avoid him, and that causes us to get a whack from behind. We've picked up some damage in that mess as well. Oh, Oscar Motin went for broke with that move, and it did not pay off. He's in front of us now, but not for long, because we've got much more speed down the start-finish straight, so we can pull out of the draft and get past Motin and probably pull away from him as well before we reach turn 1. But yeah, for the second time in 2 laps, we've got to be at our absolute sharpest to avoid getting collected and tangled up in wrecks right in front of us. Well, let's go back and check out the replay. Right, keep your eye on that black Porsche at the back of the shot. That's Oscar Motin. He closes right in on us there, and he spots the gap up the inside, so he's going to go for it. Now, I actually saw him making that move and left him a bit of space, but Tom Thompson ahead of me had no idea he was coming. So it was probably a bit of an over-ambitious attempt, this one, particularly considering how tight the pack are together in the early stages of this race. On board with the Porsche now. He spots the gap, he's committed to it, but Thompson's already committed to hitting that apex, and there's no room for Motin. Well, I suspect that Motin has picked up some pretty hefty damage in that incident, because we've had no problem at all in pulling away from him over the course of this lap. We've opened up a 2.2 second advantage over that beaten up Porsche.
There's a slow car ahead.
Oh, just when I thought I might get a breather, no chance. There's a McLaren that's run off track. He's rejoined right in front of us. We had to think about making a move up the inside there, but we took a little bit too much curb. I'm still not confident on the curbs with this Ferrari yet, so we backed out of that wisely. And it's Miguel Bigas, the driver in front of us, who's obviously come to grief at some point. Speaking of coming to grief, there's 2 more cars on the inside of that chicane, and once again we have to take avoided action not to get caught up in it, but that has given us 2 positions. We've gone from 19th to 17th. So we're headed in the right direction here as we start the 4th lap of this race. We're just over half a second behind Bigas in that McLaren, but I do think we've got the pace to close back in on him. And this is so much more encouraging than Snetterton last week. When the cars got past me at Snetterton, I had no hope whatsoever of sticking with them. I had no answer to them, but here we're able to put up a fight. And we're getting visibly closer to Bigas now, and also Alfa Skalman ahead of him. So we've got the top 15 in our sights here. Oh, wait a minute, someone's reversing onto the track, and Bigas absolutely hammers him. We have to take to the grass once again to avoid the carnage. Well, what on earth was that guy doing, reversing right into the racing line? Bigas had nowhere to go. You've got to feel sorry for him, and incredibly, we're up into the top 15. Well, before we check out the replay to see what happened, we're going to go back to the end of the previous lap to see why Bigas dropped back in the first place. Oh, he was going to get helped on his way by that red Ferrari of Alfa Skalman. Well, we saw Skalman cause absolute carnage on lap 1, and he's claimed another victim here, just running into the back of that McLaren and spinning him around. But incredibly, Skalman wasn't done there, because just a couple of corners later, he's going to try another speculative move. This time he tries to stick his nose in on the Ferrari of Rafael Nizio. Nizio spins around, and Alfa Aquari has nowhere to go. So yeah, Skalman appears to be a wrecking ball at this point in the race. He's taken everyone out, and speaking of wrecking balls, what on earth happened at the start of the next lap? Well, that's the Audi of Maurizio Brentano. He got punted out there, but then he's reversing back onto the track, and Bigas had nowhere to go. Let's ride on board in Bigas's McLaren, and we can see he's got little time to react. Actually, he ran a bit wide into the corner. Had he made the apex, he might just have been able to squeeze through, just like we were able to, although we needed to take a little bit of the grass. But here's the contact that sends Brentano out. But if ever there's an example of why you should hold your brakes down after a spin, this is it. Bitterly disappointing for Bigas, but 2 places gained for us. We're up to 15th. Well, we spent the next lap in hot pursuit of Alpha Skalman. We lost a bit of ground on him after taking to the grass to avoid that wreck, and he's now 3 seconds in front of us as we start lap 5. But look ahead, he's liable to make a mistake. We've already seen that, and he's made a big one there. He's gone really wide and run onto the grass, so that is going to give us the advantage, and we'll start reeling him in now. Yeah, Skalman's been at the centre of many of the incidents in this race, so that gives us hope that he's got more mistakes left in him. This was certainly a big one. Look how wide he went. And by the start of the next lap, we were right on his tail, closing right in on him as we approached T1. We're now putting him under all kinds of pressure. But we've got to stay alert too. We've already seen that Skalman's not afraid to make contact with other drivers, so if we're going to get round him, we've got to try and do it safely. We're rejoining the live action towards the end of lap 7. We're still right on Skalman's tail, but I must admit I'm being a little bit hesitant to try and make a move and get around him. We've seen him get involved with other drivers and it ended disaster, so I don't want to become another name on that list. But if we can find a good run out of this section and onto the start-finish straight, we may be carrying a little bit of extra speed. There's extra miles per hour up for grabs as well with the draft, so let's see how close we can get to Skalman's Ferrari here. We are gaining on him, but are we going to run out of straight, or are we going to be able to make a move up the inside into T1? We're going to have a look, but we're just not quite close enough. I back out of it. I think better of it. We would have had to have been really late on the brakes to make that pass stick, and I just didn't have the confidence that I could get the Ferrari stopped safely. So we decide just to stick behind Skalman for now. We can stay right on his tail here. The gap's just 0.2 of a second. I'm going to position myself to take a really tight inside line here just in case Skalman runs it wide through this right-hander. He did run a little bit wide, but not enough for me to make a move. However, we have closed the gap. And he's going to take a really wide line into this sharp left-hander. That might give us an opportunity to get a tight exit and get on the gas quickly. We've got the pace. He switches over to the left to defend. Now he's back onto the racing line. We're right on his tail here. He's obviously feeling the heat. He doesn't know whether to defend or attack. If we can stay right on him through this right-hander, we should get a good run onto this long back straight. There might be an opportunity for us here. Have we got the pace? We're certainly closing in on him. Now, is he going to defend? No, he's not. He's going to stay on the racing line. That gives us the gap to dive up the inside. We've got to brake. We've got to be tight. Oh, there's a little bit of contact, and we've pushed him off the track. He's right back on, though, and he's right back on the attack as well. We're going to have to defend here. Oh, I wonder if he might be a little bit wound up. I tried my very best to give him room so that we can both get through that corner while I was on the inside, but did I just push him off the track? We'll have to check out the replay in a minute. In the meantime, we are completely out of shape through this section. I urgently need to regain some of my composure, and quickly, because we were a mess through there then. I was half expecting Skalman to tear past on the outside, but we were just far enough ahead of him to stay in front. However, Skalman is going to have the advantage in the draft now as we begin the charge down to T1. Is he close enough to pounce into this first corner? It doesn't look like he is. Oh, yes, he is. He's going to go for it. We're going to have to try and leave him some space. There's more contact. We almost lose the rear. We keep the car facing in the right direction, but I don't think Skalman has. Skalman has gone. Oh dear, I hope I wasn't too aggressive there. We're going to have to check out the replay in a minute, but for now, let's stick with this because we're offline after that incident. We're down on power and we're going to lose a position. Oscar Moten in the Porsche had much more drive along that straight. He's made the move up the inside into 14th place. We're down to 15th, and now we're under pressure from Aquiri and the Audi behind. We've just about got the pace to keep our noses in front of that Audi for now. So we're clinging on to a top 15 position here. We're in hot pursuit of Oscar Moten, but I can't stop thinking about those two incidents with Skalman. I do hope I'm not to blame. We'll check out the replay shortly, but before we do, we might gain a position. The yellow flags are out. There's a car parked up in the barrier. We're up to 14th. So here's a replay of my pass on Skalman. Now I'm making a move up the inside here, and I'm going to try my hardest to give him as much space as possible for both of us to get through this turn. But did I just run him a little bit wide there? It certainly didn't cost him any time because he was straight back on and all over me like a rash. This should give us a better idea. The chopper cam, now watch me on the inside. Do I hold that inside line or do I run out too wide? Well, it looks like I've already made the pass. I did run just a little bit wide on exit, but by then I already had half a car length, maybe even 3/4 in front. So hopefully we can class that as a hard but fair overtake and a racing incident when it comes to the contact. This is T1 though, and Skalman's going to make a dive up the inside to try and get that position back, and it is not going to pay off. And once again, I tried to leave him the space needed for us both to get through safely, but the big question is, would he have got that red Ferrari stopped in that corner had I not been there? I'm not so sure. I think I did everything I could to be as safe as possible, so hopefully that's not my fault. And then later in the lap, we were able to gain one more position. Marcus Husband at the back of this pack of three, just getting on the gas too early, lights up the rear and catapults himself into the barrier. Well, we're fast approaching the last couple of minutes of this race now. We're going to have 2 more laps left after this one, and we're still chasing Oscar Motin. And I remember saying at this point during the Snetterton race last week how lonely I was feeling. Well, this is completely different. This race has been absolute chaos from start to finish, and it's not over yet. We've still got 2 laps to go, and I still fancy us to get a 13th position here. I think we've got the pace on Motin ahead. A good smooth line through this tricky section is absolutely essential, but if we can get a good run out of this turn, we might get the pace to challenge Motin down the start-finish straight here. That Porsche is really good through the corners, but I do think the Ferrari has got a bit of extra top-line speed. We're going to pick up a bit of draft too, and look how much quicker we are. We're going to pull out alongside Motin here, and we're going to breeze past him like he stood still. Now, I don't want to leave any sort of gap into T1 this time. I don't want to give him any encouragement to try and make a lunch like Skolman did a couple of laps ago. So we're going to take a tight line through there, and it's worked a treat. We've held on to the position. Yeah, textbook move down the start and finish straight, and come to think of it, we did guess earlier in the race that Motin might have been carrying some damage, so that would have explained the serious extra speed that we had coming down this start and finish straight. But yeah, we kept it tight into T1. We didn't want Motin to try and make a move up the inside. We managed to make the pass stick, and we're up to 13th position. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this race, easily the most fun I've had in ACC. We've rode our luck at times in managing to avoid some wrecks in front of us, but on the whole, I'm absolutely thrilled with the progress I've made in this sim this week. We're going to get a late challenge from Oscar Motin there. He closed right in through that chicane, but we're going to get a faster exit out of the corner, and that is going to seal 13th position. I am absolutely delighted with that result. Yeah, after such an embarrassing effort at Snetterton last week, I'm feeling so much more positive after this performance on track at Barcelona today. This has been a real boost to the morale, and as you can see from the classified results, we've even made page 1. I targeted the top 15 before the race, and we've ended up in 13th. Absolutely thrilled with that. And perhaps the biggest positive of all is the fastest lap time, a 1:46.5. That's quicker than the 2 drivers in front of me, so you never know. If we'd spent less time running into the grass and the gravel to avoid wrecks in front of us, we could have even challenged for a top 10 here. Plenty to build upon. And I know I mentioned it before the race, but once again I want to reiterate it here. I'm truly indebted to everyone who helped me out with such valuable advice following that Snetterton race last week. You were the difference here today. Your tips have helped me improve no end in the matter of days, so I truly thank you for that. And if you've enjoyed watching the video, please do leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Any support you can give is gratefully received. And finally, if you still haven't seen my woeful Snetterton performance yet, you can check it out here, and you can see just how slow I was last week and just how much progress I've made this week. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you back on the grid again very, very soon. Cheers for now.